We've been working on adding and subtracting, so we wanted to make sure we do some practice on adding and subtracting. Now, with multiplication, we did not need a common denominator. We just used times on top, divide on bottom. However, with adding and subtracting, we need a common denominator. And to get a common denominator, we need to change the ratio. And I need a multiplier to change the ratio. So the common denominator of 3 and 6 is going to be 6. So I'm going to show my multiplier of times 2, and I make sure I do it on top and bottom. So I end up with 4 over 6 minus 1 over 6. And again, notice I'm doing my work vertically. I can get my answer to the side here. It's going to be 3 over 6. And I can simplify that into 1/2. Okay, 3 over 6 is correct, but we should try to simplify the ratios when possible. The common denominator of 8 and 6 is 24, so I need a times by 3 here. To get 24, I need a times by 4. And again, make sure that you're writing in the multipliers. I get my common denominator fraction of 9 over 24 and 4 over 24. I can now add these together. I have 9 pieces that are size 1/24, 4 pieces are size 1/24. So I can add the numerator, and the size of pieces don't change when I add. I still have 1/24 pieces, so my denominator stays the same. When I have multiple denominators, I have to find the lowest common multiple of all 3 numbers. So it looks like in this case we can maybe use the lowest common multiple of 24. So I'm going to use a times 8 times 8. Here I'm going to use a times 4 times 4. Here I can use a times by 3 times by 3. So 8 over 24 minus 20 over 24 plus 3 over 24. We have to be careful of signs here. I have 8, I minus 20, that's negative 12. And I'm going to do the opposite of plus 3, so I'm going to end up with negative 9 over 24. Now, since 9 and 24 share common factors, we should simplify. Okay, this one here, we're going to simplify. We're going to divide by the common factor of 3, and we get negative 3 over 8 as our final answer. Now, I would like us to start thinking of simplification as canceling of factors, and it's the same as doing this divide here. So we can write this as negative 3 times 3 on top. We can write that as 8 times 3 on bottom. It's really the opposite of using the multiplying factor. We're going to get rid of the multiplying factor that's common on top and bottom. And we get negative 3 over 8. Here we want to multiply, we want to add first. We want to use BEDMAS. So we're going to, inside the brackets first, we're going to multiply. So we end up with 4, 6 plus 5, 6. So inside the brackets, again, notice I'm working vertically. I end up with 9 over 6. I'm running out of room here, so I'm just going to move over to here. So not 4 times 9 over 6. I can simplify that fraction into, I don't have to simplify first. I can multiply first and then simplify, but I'm going to simplify first. So this simplifies to 3 over 2. When I multiply this, times on top. Okay, the 4 is not, we don't ever multiply the denominator, because remember the denominator is only for divide. That's a times 4, so that has to go in the numerator. And so we end up with 12 over 2, which simplifies to a final answer of 6. Lastly here we have a fraction, but we have this a in the denominator. Now we need to get a common denominator. And if we think of these, to get a common denominator we need to multiply. Well, we can see that if I multiply by a, this is just 3 times a. If I multiply by a here, I'm going to get a common denominator. So I multiply by a. But to keep this ratio the same, I have to use the same multiplier. Although we don't know what that multiplier is, as long as the multiplier is the same on top and bottom, we know we're going to have the same fraction or equivalent fraction. So we end up with 1 over 3a here plus 1 over 3a. We add it together to get 2 over 3a.